Good Friday, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversations Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Well, we made it to the end of another week. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this Friday. We have the truth of the day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and in today's entertainment spotlight, you're being part of my conversation with best-selling author David Baldacci. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Friday headlines. In national news, world leaders pledge climate cooperation despite other rifts. The leaders of Russia and China put aside their raw-worded disputes with the U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday long enough to pledge international cooperation on cutting climate-wrecking coal and petroleum emissions in a live-stream summit showcasing America's return to the fight against global warming. Neither Vladimir Putin or China's president immediately followed the United States and some of its developed allies in making new pledges to reduce damaging fossil fuel pollution during the first day of the two-day U.S.-hosted summit. But climate advocates hope the high-profile, if glitch-ridden virtual gathering would kickstart new action by major polluters, paving the way for a November UN meeting in Glasgow, critical to drastically slowing climate change over the coming decade. The entire world faces a moment of peril, but also a moment of opportunity, Biden declared, speaking from a TV-style chrome blue set for the virtual summit of 40 world leaders. Participants appeared one after the other on screen for what appeared to be a mix of live and recorded addresses. The signs are unmistakable, Biden said. The science is undeniable. The cost of inaction keeps mounting. Biden's new U.S. commitment, timed to the summit, will cut America's fossil fuel emissions as much as 52% by 2030. It comes after 4 years of international withdrawal from the issue under President Donald Trump, who mocked the science of climate change and pulled the U.S. out of the landmark 2015 Paris Climate Accord. But Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell dismissed the administration's plans as costly and ineffective. But the summit also marshaled an impressive display of the world's most powerful leaders speaking on the single issue of climate change. In more national news, COVID-19 hospitalizations tumble among U.S. senior citizens. COVID-19 hospitalizations among older Americans have plunged more than 70% since the start of the year, and deaths among them appear to have tumbled as well, dramatic evidence the vaccination campaign is working. Now the trick is to get more of the nation's younger people to roll up their sleeves. The drop-off in severe cases among ages 65 and older is especially encouraging because senior citizens have accounted for about 8 out of 10 deaths from the virus since it hit the U.S., where the toll stands at about 570,000 COVID-19 deaths among people of all ages in the U.S. The best available data suggests COVID-19 deaths among Americans 65 and older have declined more than 50% since their peak in January. The picture is not entirely clear because the most recent data on deaths by age from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is incomplete and subject to revision. In more national news, countering Biden, GOP pitches $568 billion for infrastructure. A group of Senate Republicans on Thursday unveiled a public works proposal with a much smaller price tag and a narrower definition of infrastructure than what President Joe Biden has proposed, highlighting the stark differences between the two sides that will be difficult to bridge in the coming months. The price of the Republicans' two-page outline came in at about $568 billion over 5 years, compared to $2.3 trillion that Biden has called for spending over 8 years. The lawmakers framed their counter-proposal as a very, very generous offer. Yet the unveiling of the GOP proposal also made clear the parties are leagues apart on the size and scope of what's needed. Biden is spending time listening to Republicans and voicing a willingness to consider their ideas, but Democrats are intent on passing a major infrastructure boost this year with or without GOP support. In business news, stocks end lower after a report on Biden's tax proposal. A report that President Biden will propose a hefty tax increase on the gains wealthy individuals reap from investments triggered a stock market sell-off Thursday afternoon that left indexes broadly lower. The selling was widespread, with every sector in the S&P 500 closing lower. Technology stocks, banks, and companies that rely on consumer spending accounted for much of the skid. And finally, in more national news, Nielsen says at least 22.8 million people watched Chauvin verdict. At least 22.8 million Americans watched on television this week as former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was convicted of murder and manslaughter in the death of George Floyd. The Nielsen Company's estimate came from viewership figures on 10 different networks that carried Tuesday's verdict live. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's now time for the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich. Enjoy.
Hi, this is Mary Ellen with your Truth of the Day. Consider greater possibilities. Explore ways to expand your life experiences. Take some time every day to consciously explore and embrace new ideas as you put forth positive energy to attract opportunities. Be sure to act on these opportunities, even if it is something minor, as this sends a message to the universe and to God that you are ready to experience even more success and fulfillment. God then reciprocates by sending more opportunities to you. This creates an ongoing cycle of creative successes to transform your life. When you take time to explore the possibilities for growth in your life, it begins a powerful new phase of expansion and success. Today, allow your mind to roam freely as you invite new ideas into your consciousness. And as always, enjoy the day.
Best-selling author David Baldacci is today's feature in our Entertainment Spotlight, right here on Conversations Daily News. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with the Entertainment Spotlight. Best-selling author David Baldacci joined me recently on Conversations Live, the radio show, to talk about his amazing literary career and the new book, A Gambling Man. Here's a bit of our conversation.
Well, David, you always give us such a great book with these complicated characters. Well, we had a chance to talk when you first introduced Archer with One Good Deed. What has it been like for you to see the way that readers are responding to him?
It's been, everything I hoped it would be and more. It seems like everybody loves Archer, and going back to this time period was, in some ways, a gentler, more simple time, in some ways not. I think, particularly during, the pandemic and all that, when people were just looking for more escapism, they didn't want to read about a book where people were walking down the street in masks and everything was closed.
Right.
It gave people sort of a fleeting, few moments to take a deep breath and think about a different time period. And so I've loved the reaction, and I've always thought that Archer was kind of an everyman and, a guy trying to do the right thing in a dishonorable world, and readers seem to really have picked up that.
You have characters like Ruby who has, these dreams, as a lot of people do, of going off to Hollywood, and kind of making their place there. And then, of course, Archer's dealing with these complicated things that are very timely, like infidelity and murder. What was that like for you to kind of include these slices to show us that even as times change, a lot of things do stay the same?
They do, and I tell people the reason why that, you can look back at history until, first moments of recorded history and go forward to 2021 and things, seem like there's a lot of the same things going on, and there's only one reason for that, and that's because human beings, even though we continue to evolve, human beings largely at their core levels don't change.
Yeah.
So people in the year 1000 were lustful and greedy and jealous, and the year 2000 they're lustful and greedy and jealous, and they want something somebody else doesn't have. And so all those motivations and plot lines and impulses and the reasons people do what they do, are just as valid today as they were 1,000 years ago.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Conversations Daily News. We'll be back to you guys on Monday with more news, Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and of course your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Let's make it a great one.